how to grant editing access for a specific page or branch of pages. To do this, you'll need the Press Permit Core plugin and also the PP Collaborative Editing Pack extension plugin. That's a part of the Press Permit Pro package. If you haven't already done so, make sure the post type in question is enabled for press permit filtering. Click the Core tab and make sure the page type is enabled. In this example on the sample library site, we have an individual who has volunteered to oversee one of the bookmobile locations. She won't have any page editing access based on her WordPress role or existing permission groups. So we need to grant that access for the appropriate page. We can do it through the page edit screen or through the permissions editing screen for a particular group or user. In this case, we'll use the edit page screen. Scroll down to the Editing Exceptions meta box. You'll see that the WP Roles tab indicates which WordPress roles have the capabilities required to edit this page. Here we also have the ability to either enable or block any of the WordPress roles for this specific page or its subpages. But in this case, we need to grant the editing access for a specific user. So click on the Users tab and select Users. Search on the user login or screen name. The results are listed alphabetically by user login, but if you hover over a result, the user's screen name will be shown. If you click the search button with an empty input box, all users, up to a reasonable limit, will be listed, ordered by creation date, with the most recently added user listed first. If you'd rather have that list ordered alphabetically, just type a space into the input box and click the search button. You can also single-click or multi-select and then click the Select button. We don't really need to add the editing access for all these users, so I'll just change them back to default access. After your selections are complete, scroll up to the top and click the Update button. Scrolling down, you can see that the selections have been saved. Returning to the Users listing, this user's row now indicates the editing exception for that page. Clicking on this user's role or exception caption will take us to the Edit User Permissions screen. Here we can add supplemental roles for any post type or access exceptions for any number of items. Let's say I just remembered that Jane will also be supervising the River South bookmobile location. So Jane can now edit the Easttown bookmobile locations page or the River South bookmobile locations page. Notice that only the Easttown page is bolded in this listing. That means the editing access is granted for both the page itself and subpages, whereas for this River South page I did not select the subpages option. To change that, I can click this box and choose Assign for selected and subpages. Let's take a closer look at all those options when we add an exception. Besides altering reading or editing access, it's also possible to modify which pages can be selected as a page parent, but in this case we're working with editing permissions. In the Adjustment drop-down, also these means we're adding permissions. It's also possible to block access for a specific page or branch of pages by selecting the Not These adjustment. The Only These adjustment would pertain to a user who already has access to edit pages in general, but should have that access narrowed to a specific set of pages. The Selected drop-down might appear redundant because we've already selected Page as the post type. If your post type is associated with categories or some other taxonomy, those will be included in this drop-down so that you can grant the permissions for all pages within a certain category or term. In this case, we just wanted to select a specific page. The exceptions can be granted for selected pages and/or their subpages, and it's also possible to make the editing exceptions apply only while the selected pages are unpublished. So now Jane has the page editing permissions that she needs. The pages listing now shows that editing exceptions are present for those two pages.